How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today, yeah, well, all week really, I've been building a racetrack on Deluge, and I've been messing around on it, and yeah, finally, just edited all the footage. By the time I even selected the clips I wanted, it was 68 clips and 9 hours long, so I'm a little bit running behind, but yeah, we just about got there. So I showed you the other day, I built the bridge, like the 20-slot bridge, turned it into two 10-slot bridges. Just thought I'd leave a little bit of that in with the warden. I was actually able to just drive up to the concrete slabs that it made reappear and just collect them kind of without having to load them or anything. So, if we're starting off at my garage, I've kind of got a wiggly line going up there, and then I've got 3 different roads to cross. The original one was the dam, and it was alright, but you had to go slow enough to get over it, otherwise you'd crash, and then you'd be stuck in a low gear, kind of going further along. So secondly, I built this road, but I quite liked, it's got like a deep water trap section in it, which obviously also slows you down, but it ended up being quite a good test of like vehicles with lower snorkels. You can sort of see how well they do or how well they plough through water without getting slowed down. So then tonight I built a third path, which actually still does have like a very shallow bit of water in, but there's like a little jump just before, sort of did a bump when I was smoothing the sand, so it doesn't actually slow you down. So carry on going up. That little bridge peeling off, that one is just more like a maintenance bridge. I was bringing supplies and cutting trees and whatnot. It just made it easier before all this was built to get to that island and all the rest of it. Yeah, that's where I built the 20-slot concrete bridge, but poured sand through the middle, turned it into a 2 10-slot of wooden bridges. Go around the top there, over the dam, peel off through these trees, and then I've got a jump there. I've also built that, I'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, kind of, I had different designs for, like, I had a little mound of sand to land on, and it went nicely when it went well, but it didn't go well that often, so in the end I built a slope, plus I drew, like, the AI route to go round as well, so that helped, having a slope. Yeah, I kind of made that section pretty wide to wherever I land, I should at least land on some sand. Then go through there, through some houses, up I think that was another 20-slot concrete bridge, cross the water there, along all this weird rough section that it made you drive the links over, kind of at the start. Sorry, there's a loud bike racing past. There's a jump there, and then that's like the Tokyo drift mud, so hence why I've sort of left it where I still wanted to land and skid through that, really. Hence why I didn't like completely join it up with sand. You can see, forget the AI line running through the middle, but there is an AI line of, like, I followed it around. So this is basically setting off from my garage, sort of where I'm calling it the start. I've got a few places I'm kind of considering the start. Yeah, there's a little jump, so you still get a little bit of water splash, but it doesn't actually slow your gears down. I didn't want to level that bit of road, because it ended up working out nicely with a bump, kind of swerves you around pretty nicely to this road. It gets a bit wobbly. It's harder than you think to do a complete lap, even though in theory, like corners like that, it floats around nicely, and then, I don't know, 1 in 5 corners it'll just skid the back end out, and yeah, that's kind of you run over. And then times that by 20 odd corners, the chances of actually making it around in one shot are pretty slim. These wooden bridges as well, it's like those planks that run along the middle. They actually are like, they stick up as a hitbox versus like just the flat bridge. The dozer happens to have tyres that are just as wide as it, not the, like the original dump truck, not dump truck, the original dozer you get. I don't know, you kind of get stuck on those wooden bits. It's a little bit annoying. I prefer having the wooden bridges, but to be fair, the concrete bridges are a little bit rattly as well. Yeah, tonight I put those 2 dozer, that's the dozer I was on about, and put a rail car thing over it that I removed the other day to build what I was calling like the railroad. Not a literal railroad, but you built a road along the rail tracks. That blue barrel as well, I'm also sort of considering that as a start line, but it doesn't really matter, I've just been doing laps. But yeah, you can see me loaf in the background on the plane, the goddamn professional he is. I need another loaf now, because I thought I want to leave him up there for a bit, but I'm also distinctly lacking a loaf. There's some weird green patch of like pond scum that was floating on top of the water, but after I poured sand it kind of left the overlay on top of the sand, which, yeah, it's the only bit that did it. Pretty random, but I quite like it. There's the Warden ATV again, because I built the bridge going up there, so it was just easier to grab the concrete slabs. But yeah, up that bridge, go along the water here. The bit to the right, you can see it's all rough on the right. The only way to get that smooth, I'd have to build all this sand section up like another foot or two higher. And I don't want to do that, so yeah, I'm kind of happy with just sticking to the left there. Then I got this jump, you land on there, and then that's not the... I've got some better footage, but essentially you get a little drift going along there. The other options, as I'm coming around here, so there's 3 options. Like I said, originally I had this, which is good. I like the difficulty level of it, and you've got to pay attention a bit. But like I said, you're now in a lower gear, and this game just takes a piss on getting back to a higher gear, so it was just making me sit in a low gear all the way along there. Option, I suppose number 3, because I've sort of shown the original option. Yeah, you get a bit of a fat drift going around there, which ended up bleeding some of your speed anyway. And then I sort of liked the fact that the little deep water trap sort of slows you down, so I ended up, that was originally supposed to be a faster way, but I kind of got the same issue where I was stuck in a low gear. And then there is also a 4th, particularly advanced option. I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. You hit that tree, do a 900 Tony Hawk kickflip, you land on a broken bridge that was already there, you do a cartwheel, and you land back on your road. Goddamn professional, that's loaf training in action, that is. I left that bit unploughed because I was kind of forcing to see you go around this side of the tree. Can't sneak a little shortcut in there. And then yeah, I mean that's basically the track. If you want to see like a load of bloopers and attempts and ramps and crashes and whatnot, keep watching. That's where eventually, thanks to Zach, I think it was 1755, and hang on, I keep forgetting this guy's name. A YouTube channel called Building Factory, who's done... I assume he's done other maps as well, but like locations you can deploy the scalper on Deluge because it's particularly stingy on this map with where you can put them. So yeah, thanks to those two, I was able to get a scalper there and at least sped up a bit. Yeah, you see, when you land on that mound I put down there, it goes... When it's nice, feels good to actually nail it right. Like that, I was like, oh, that's chef's kiss, that one. Yeah, but the amount of times it went wrong, and I'd either nosedive or bounce funny, that was kind of got away with it, but I did a bit of a drift. God knows where that barrel came from, because it wasn't anywhere early, it just appeared. I ran it over and it kind of moved over to the edge, and then yeah, I just kind of was considering it a impromptu start-finish line. For what it's worth, this vehicle actually floats, but it still goes slightly deeper than its snorkel, so you're still pretty screwed. But if you do fly off a bridge or whatever in deep water, it won't actually sink, and you can still use your winch. It's just whether you can reach something or not. Yeah, like I said, I sent some of the other vehicles round. This was the Land Rover. They all weren't terrible or anything. They're just not quite as fast as the Don 72 Malamute. And that ended up being the most fun, because that's got enough speed to do jumps and all the rest of it. These were just like, yeah, slightly not enough. You get a little bit of air, but not as good as the Don Malamute, and there's no real way around it. If you build a bigger ramp, you might get more air in this, but then you'd get even more in the Malamute, so... the Lynx, again, wasn't too bad, at least because of its wheels, it kind of doesn't really catch anywhere, so you get a nice clean run. This thing, I gave it a go. Again, it wasn't terrible, just not as quick. When you look in the stats, this thing has got, I believe, mobility is like 5 out of 5. Yeah, a lot of the times you get that sort of thing going on. These were the two main jumps I sort of quite liked. Just missed that. And then yeah, as you can see, you keep your speed, and because as long as you stick to a drift, you don't actually get bogged down in the mud, so you can kind of skip ahead to that bit. That again wasn't perfect. I've been able to do it where you fully keep your speed. I believe I've got the footage at some point. As I said, apologies if it's a little bit erratic and all over the place, but yeah. From about 200 clips, I got to 68 in 9 hours, and I've just spent God knows how many hours editing it all. There was a AI vehicle that drove across my path. I had to swerve out of the way, but ended up pretty much landed it quite nicely. Again, this was, yeah, it's near my base. You can see at first there, it kind of goes a bit cockeyed off to one side. I went back later and filled more sand. There's a good example of like a nice little drift, and you keep your speed, stay in high gear. And then that's why I didn't want to, then I would get to that wooden bridge dam thing, and it'd kind of bleed all my speed doing that. So that's why I kind of wanted a higher speed alternative. Obviously, yeah, get laps where you do flips and all the rest of it. I think I have, but I'm not 100. I think I had 1 or 2 complete laps with nothing going wrong, but they happened to both be pissing down with rain, so it wasn't the best view versus like a nice sunny map. Yeah, there's another little nice drift. Again, there's probably like, from the footage from going back a few days, it kind of changes here and there. You can see at the minute I've got like sand roads, but then at some point I paved, not all of them. That's what you get quite a lot, cutting around the corner. They've got like these red walkway rails on either side of the dam that are a bit of a pain in the ass. They get in the way a lot and I can't delete them or do anything about them. Yeah, bringing this thing was a gigantic pain. It took about half an hour to get it here, because that crane just kept digging its nose in every 2 seconds. Yeah, I was originally thinking, like, how can I do something? I was going to park trucks there and balance it on top, and then I was like, yeah, actually, the dumper thing's just about hold it high enough while I was making something to eat. That prick drove past. Clipped his back end on it, and then later on I came back after having something to eat and all that, and I was like, where's my bloody train car? Looking around, it's like, oh my god, this tosser's somehow managed to take the rail car. It's actually impressive in its own right. He's somehow taken the rail car off the diggers and then pushed it over here. And now he's trying to mount it. Yeah, I mean, the AI, they have no concept of brakes. I don't know whether to be annoyed or respect it. So trying to load this, the first time I did this, just loaded the train car on. It was fine, didn't wobble, didn't do anything. Now since that knob crashed into it and wrecked it, put it on, it fell over. I was trying to refire the winches out of the crane, but annoyingly they don't have a very good radius, not as good of a radius as the height of the crane, so it wasn't offering it me. While I was trying to put it back, this guy turned back up and kept ramming me. In the end I was like, right, I'm going to push him around. It's like, nope, don't you dare do a full circle. And go back. Eventually tipped him. I was like, good. Get it there. Looking good. Like, what the actual fuck? How did it manage to stay there for like 10 or 15 seconds? And then it tipped, so it's like, yay, back in the crane. Also, I'm trying to put it up again. There's 2 different AI routes. This prick turns up and starts ramming it, but he got his wheel hooked on, so it was like, yes, that's what you get. You stay laying down. And then he rolled back like a goddamn professional. Must have been live trained at some point. Starts trying to come back at me, ramming into my crane whilst I'm trying to delicately place this thing. I cut ahead, but in the end I was like, right, fuck it. I'll lift this rail car as high as I can. I'm going to drop it on him. That's what he gets. He definitely felt it. Yeah, so he laid there for a little bit. Calmed him down. See what I mean? You have to lower the crane like down quite a lot just for it to even let the winch points appear. He wiggled around for a while, but I think he was done at that point. He was cooked. Yeah, I mean, I do like this. I like the end result, but a lot more of a pain in the ass. Probably took like an hour or 2 to get to this point. From originally deciding to bring it over here, buying 2 dozers, driving them over here. I originally was trying to bring the rail car with 5 big rocks in it. I don't even know why in hindsight, just because I thought I could. And yeah, it ended up making it even heavier. The crane was tipping even more. My first attempt as well when I got that rail car there. Yeah, come flying around the corner. See, back end went out. You get a good old skid on the go, and that was it. Even though I've paved some of my track, I've left bits like this sandy because I'm probably altering this quite a bit, so I don't really want to pave all of that. Every time you try and adjust this road, you end up having to like do the dozer up to the peak of that hill, and it always lowers it and smooths it out, so you have to go back and pour sand, but then the jump is a tiny bit different to what it was. What I do like is, since putting that there, it's kind of like ringing the bell as you jump over. You kind of clip your roof rack on the rail car, but it never, touch wood so far, has actually moved it. It seems pretty solid where it is, but yeah, you kind of clip it, give it a good little ding. I also found photo mode. I was trying to do different things, and I kept thinking, I'm sure they said they added photo mode, and I looked in settings and all that, and then in the bottom left when you pause it says press square to go in photo mode. Goddamn horse snuck his way in there. I don't blame him. He is sat on a plane. Yeah, so I picked one of them as a thumbnail, but there you go, you get to see some other potential shots, and as you can see there was like just one little hump there, because originally it was just a sand mound. They were both separate, but I sort of smoothed them out. But then now, between adjusting that little peak on the hill, it just perfectly kept landing me on that little bump. So I think I sent a dozer in at some point and flattened it out as another thumbnail attempt. And yeah, like I say, this is kind of just different attempts at doing the jumps, seeing what was going on. Again, thumbnails. What I was trying to do at some point, I was chasing one of the AI around, and I was trying to get to where if he drives down there, I could jump over him. Like now, for example, I was just a little bit too late, clipped the bridge, landed on the back of him. Did a roll, but thankfully, to be fair, the Malamute's not too bad. You do end up getting stuck sometimes, but it could be worse. But yeah, so every time I had to keep parking back near the dam and sort of waiting for the AI to do another lap, which was taking quite a while. Well, they still actually go and complete their mission, so it obviously sends a truck. It just does a fat lap of my track, and it actually makes it as well, and then goes to the eastern tunnel. I think it's the machine yard to the eastern tunnel one I did. Yeah, and then just as they're about to get there, it sends another truck, so sort of got to wait 5 minutes each time. Once got that smoothed out, again, some of the landings are a little sketchy, but overall, going pretty well. And again, I was keep going through and editing out footage and all the rest of it, but yeah, I've just got to the point where it's like I'm running way behind on time, so I want to get the video edited and done. There might be a few repetitive clips in some ways with the jumps, but it is what it is. You can always quit the video if you've seen enough of the jump in action. Yeah, again, there's the old goddamn horse in the background on his plane. I think, yeah, this one, like, when you jump here, you want to try and hit that tree branch on the right, and that kind of stabilises you, and you end up getting, like, you keep your high gear, but it slows you down a bit, but then you can make the corner quite easily. And then drop the hammer more. And then, yeah, I think this was actually more of a, like, a clean run, but I ended up effectively starting from that blue barrel, kind of the jump back there. Again, got over it. It's nigh on impossible to get this. I mean, this bit, because the mountain or the hillside or whatever's on a slope, hence why it's really rough on the right-hand side. And like I said, I'd have to build up the sand just to the point. I didn't really want to. Not because I can't be arsed, I just actually didn't want to. Like, I preferred it sort of how it was. But yeah, going back and forth with the dozer, like that bit there, you can see some little bumps, but I have to keep adding more sand, trying to shave it off and get it level, and you end up just scraping it back all the way to the ground, basically, and then it starts leaving the impression of the ground where it ends up quite lumpy. There's a nice little drift around that AI vehicle, though, and yeah, I was quite happy with my little jump there. It left a little bump, because when you're doing it with the dozer and you stop sand flattening, it kind of sometimes leaves a little bump in front of you, but it sort of worked out nicely as a yeah, a tiny little jump over/into that water section. It's me dozer and all that. I'm wondering, like, I think there was probably more loads of sand I did to fill the concrete slabs facility, but it can't be that far off, because I mean, even that little sand mound in the middle of the water alone, that probably took 20 or 30 sand loads. And obviously, going all along here, some sections were fairly easy because they were within the range of a sand quarry. Some are an absolute nightmare. Sadly, I only found out about that scalper. I'd already laid most of the sand, but then once I was able to place that scalper, I did go back over and kind of lay a thicker layer and make it all a bit smoother and cleaner and all the rest of it. Going through here, I know some of the trees do block your view a bit, but I sort of like how that, in theory, you come around the corner, don't really see it until the last second. Yeah, you got a lot of things going like that. Yeah, this was another attempt trying to time it right to jump over him. God knows why this time. Like, headbutted the bloody top of the rail car and tried to do some kind of backflip. Reminds me of some old YouTube video where a guy, I don't know, at school or something, was like jumping. God no, I don't know. He ends up headbutting the top of a doorway. I remember that. Yeah. Oh, do you know what? That is weird. I had a glitch where it repeated some of the footage when I was going through it, and it, not to say, oh, it definitely couldn't have been me, but the footage is all listed chronologically, so it shouldn't have been me. And then yeah, eventually I was like, oh, that's the one. Where is it? Yes, there we go. That's the money shot. That's the one we're going for. Yeah, paused it and then really quickly hit enter photo mode, because even when you pause, the game still carries on in the background. But if you hit photo mode, it actually does pause mid-air, so I was able, or, you know, just pauses. I happened to be mid-air at the time. Yeah, didn't quite jump over him, but I was like, sod it. I quite liked that it got the truck in, me flying in the air, the rail car. All the good stuff. Then I started having a little battle with this guy. I was at celebratory horn. Tried to ram him, just to see if I could push him off the road. Not really too much luck, and he starts getting violent. Turning me sideways. So I thought, right, I'll leave him for a bit, see how well he does. Got straightened out, but then his back wheel was kind of pulling me around. more abuse, try and give him a little ram. He started skidding me, but I kept it pinned and got out of there. Yeah, so I don't know. This is a definite maybe. Not definitely, but at some point I could do like a, I don't know, some subscriber races. Get some other people on there and we'll have a race around this. I started out as well, it's like at the worst time possible. You get frame rate dropping issues. Yeah, there's like another nice little drift where you keep your speed a little bit violent on the other side, but it'll do. As long as you stay in high gear, you wind up to speed quite nicely. And then yeah, there's a nice little, for some reason I caught my, I think when you're a little bit slower than max speed, it actually catches it, probably because it compresses the suspension less. Yeah, got a nice little backflip there though. And yeah, that's about it. That is that one in the bag. Yeah, pretty good. Build yourself a racetrack. That's about it for today though. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps. Get yourself a loaf because he's a beast. And I'll be back soon.